On a day when my husband, Dylan, who usually remained in his room, had stepped out briefly, the intercom at my house began buzzing incessantly. I answered the door to find my mother-in-law standing there, visibly excited. Surprised by the unexpected visit, I asked, "Hello, mother-in-law. What brings you here at this hour?" "First of all, you should answer the intercom promptly. Making me wait is quite impolite, don't you think?" She scolded. "I apologize. I was caught up with some work," I explained. "Work? It's hard to believe you're doing anything substantial from home. I suspect you're just lounging around, aren't you?" She snapped, her tone dripping with disbelief. "That's not the case at all. I am genuinely busy with my work." "I don't want to hear any excuses. You live a comfortable life here every day, benefiting from my son's high salary, and I find it unfair," she continued, her voice full of frustration. "My son and I plan to start a new chapter here, just the two of us. Please make arrangements to move out." With a self-satisfied grin, she pulled a piece of paper from an envelope and handed it to me. "Here, take a look." The document was marked divorce papers, with my husband's section already completed. I stared at them, astonished. "Wait, are these divorce papers?" I asked. "Yes, he's come to realize he can't continue with you. So sign these and vacate the premises immediately," she said triumphantly, clearly anticipating my shock. But I wasn't as rattled as she expected. With a calm smile, I signed the papers. Internally, I found her misunderstanding amusing. She had no idea what was really going on. I'm Nancy, a freelance writer and editor who works from home, drawing on my past experience with a publishing company to sustain a steady income. My salary, bonuses, and copyright-related rewards had allowed me to save a significant amount over the years. Freelancing is inherently unstable, but I've made it work, and I've been able to live comfortably. I met my husband, Dylan, while we were both employed at the publishing company. He was an aspiring writer, and our shared passion for writing brought us closer. Eventually, that passion blossomed into love. We married, and I transitioned into freelancing full-time. Initially, I believed that Dylan and his family understood and valued my work. However, over time, it became clear that they didn't appreciate the nature of freelancing. My in-laws, with their more traditional values, viewed it as unstable compared to Dylan's steady job. Dylan began bragging about his success as a renowned writer, which only made my in-laws' attitude toward me more cold and dismissive. Whenever we met, their sarcasm was evident. They would mockingly ask, "Oh, it's Nancy who never seems to work. What brings you here today? Looking for a job recommendation?" I tried to defend myself, saying, "Mother-in-law, if you're worried about our living expenses, I assure you I'm earning well. There's no need for concern." But she responded, "Really? You sound quite assured. Perhaps you should show more gratitude to Dylan. Without him, wouldn't you be in a tight spot?" Her comments stung. I could feel her judgmental gaze, and I knew that she viewed my freelancing as lazy. It was a reflection of the generational and cultural misunderstanding that had been brewing in our relationship. Freelancing allows one to earn a good income without needing to go to an office. Thanks to technology, we can work virtually from anywhere. My job fits that model, I explained, but she wasn't convinced. "All you do is talk back. You're such an unpleasant daughter-in-law. It doesn't look right for a young woman to spend all day at home on a computer," she said, her irritation clear. These exchanges had become more frequent and more openly critical, especially when Dylan wasn't around. Our family dinners, which were supposed to be a time of togetherness, had become sessions of critique. There was always food set out for Dylan, but never for me, which made things uncomfortable. I suspected that my mother-in-law was speaking ill of me to other relatives, as I often overheard unpleasant comments. To make matters worse, Dylan's silence during these encounters only fueled my frustration. His parents frequently relied on him for financial support, often asking him to buy things, and he obliged. The problem was that the money they were spending was coming from my earnings. What had started as a small contribution had escalated to nearly $2,000 a month. I decided to confront Dylan about his use of my earnings. "I want you to stop giving my money to your parents without asking me first," I told him. His response was colder than I anticipated. "You're making money while relaxing at home, right? It's easy money. Why not let my parents benefit from it?" "Wait, Dylan, do you really think I'm just lounging around at home to earn my money?" I was taken aback by his words. It felt like the final straw. I felt betrayed, confused, and heartbroken. Despite the challenges with his parents and our differing backgrounds, I had believed Dylan was on my side. His words shattered that reassurance. Dylan, whom I thought understood my efforts and feelings, had joined those who mocked me behind my back. I remembered our first date when he spoke passionately about his work, his dreams, and his values. His enthusiasm and sincerity had drawn me to him. But now he seemed to have lost that drive, spending his days aimlessly absorbed in games. His obsession with them had led him to neglect his passion for writing, which saddened me deeply. It made me question whether I could continue my future with him. The more I thought about it, the more bleak my future with him. Certainly. Here's the text with proper punctuation and divided into shorter paragraphs. Appeared consequently, I decided to divorce him and secretly began searching for a new place to live. I looked online for apartments suited for singles and visited several properties, prioritizing those with a quiet environment and strong security. Eventually, I chose a place that met my needs. One day, while Dylan was out, he usually spent his time playing games in his room. My mother-in-law paid an unexpected visit. I answered the door in surprise, and without waiting for an invitation, she plopped down on the living room sofa and declared, "Nancy, you need to leave this place." "Why are you saying this all of a sudden?" I was too stunned to react immediately. "It's quite clear you're not good at housekeeping, and despite Dylan's success as a popular author, you haven't improved. Most importantly, you're failing at your work. I've explained this to you before." "It's a misunderstanding," I tried to clarify, but my mother-in-law cut me off with a placid smile. "I intend to move in here and support Dylan. Taking care of him will be far better than dealing with that troublesome old lady." "Are you referring to Dylan's grandmother?" I asked. "Yes, that's the one. Even though I've done so much for her, she's always finding fault and showing no gratitude. I'm fed up with it. If I move in, I can look after Dylan, allowing him to focus on his work without any interruptions. Isn't that great?" With that, she pulled a piece of paper from the envelope she was holding. "So would you please leave this house immediately?" I accepted the divorce papers she offered that were already signed by Dylan. "Did Dylan actually sign these?" I asked, disbelief in my voice. "Yes," she said, a hint of amusement in her tone. I suggested to Dylan that a divorce might be best for both of you. It seems he was quite eager to agree, as he signed them without a second thought. The events unfolded rapidly. I gathered my pre-packed bags and decided to move into a new apartment immediately. As I relocated, I also filed the divorce papers, marking the beginning of a new chapter. My new life turned out to be smoother and more comfortable than I had anticipated. My modest apartment, furnished only with the essentials, provided a simplicity that helped me concentrate, free from complications. Each day was calm and serene. I woke up to natural light streaming through the windows and the soothing sound of birds chirping in the distance. I could rise whenever I chose, enjoy a leisurely breakfast, and plan my day at my own pace. Immersed in my work, time seemed to fly by. It was a relief not to worry about the expectations and scrutiny of Dylan and my in-laws, allowing me to work in peace and at my own rhythm. One day, as I was deeply focused on my work at my desk, my smartphone buzzed with a call from Dylan. After a moment of hesitation, I decided to answer. "Nancy, please come back right now." Dylan's voice was urgent and desperate. "Why the sudden request?" I asked, puzzled. To be honest, my parents discovered I wasn't as successful as I claimed to be. I'm under a lot of pressure now. They're even talking about moving in and relying on my earnings. I really need you to come back. I understand, but returning isn't so straightforward. You signed the divorce papers, remember? Yes, and so did I. We've both chosen separate paths now, so you'll need to handle your own problems. It's no longer my concern. His voice was tinged with a mix of desperation and sorrow, but I remained firm. We've gone our separate ways. I could hear him sigh heavily on the other end. I get it, but since the divorce, I faced many difficulties and significant expenses. I need help with costs, like care fees for our parents and compensations for the disruptions caused. Why are you bringing this up now? I asked, confused. Your decisions have messed up all my plans. How could you do this? Do you remember how you and your parents used to mock me when we were married? I didn't want to say this, but now you seem like an adversary. Your financial troubles are due to your own failures at work. Figure it out on your own. I'm tired of being your fallback. With that, I ended the call. Despite numerous attempts to reach me afterward, I blocked Dylan and changed my number. A few months later, I happened to pass by the location of his former house. Instead of the house, there was now an empty lot. A nearby resident filled me in on the recent turmoil, mentioning that the police had been called several times. The neighbor's words seemed to carry the weight of the situation. "You must have had a tough time, too." "There must have been a lot of upheaval leading to the loss of his house," the neighbor said. I stood there for a moment, reflecting on the past. The outcome seemed like a form of karma. Dylan's small deception had led to a consequence more dramatic than any fiction he might have written. From that point on, I resolved to live with honesty, sharing my feelings and thoughts openly without pretense. No matter how difficult things became, I understood the importance of truth and valuing genuine emotions.